Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report, a company update. Getting an update from Kennorland Minerals. We're going to be discussing one of the company's projects within its portfolio that has just signed an option agreement, the South Uchi Project in Red Lake, northwestern Ontario. The option agreement signed with Auranova Resources for the right to acquire up to a 70% interest. Just to bring everybody up to speed, Kennerland Minerals is a hybrid prospect generator exploration company, as well as a royalty play, as the company holds that royalty on that flagship Frotet project. Company is partnered with a lot of large major mining companies like Sumitomo, Newmont, and Centerra. I am chatting with Zach Flood, President and CEO of Kennerland Minerals. The company is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol KLD, on the OTCQX under the symbol KLDCF, and the Frankfurt Exchange 3WQ0. Zach, let's talk about South Uchi here. Now under an option agreement. There's two stages of the option agreement. First one for 51%. Break down what goes on here for this option agreement.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. It's a pretty, typical structure in terms of an option agreement. There's cash payments involved, 500,000 cash in two-stage payments. We also are issued equity in Auranova, so representing 19.9% equity interest, which will be topped up after a minimum of 10 million raised from the date of execution. There's also a commitment to drill, 15,000 meter drill program or incur 8 million in qualifying expenditures on the maiden drill program before the second year after receiving the drill permit. So the drill permit's really key here as well to kind of get the ball rolling on the project. That'll earn them, and also on top of the 51%, there's a second option where they can earn an additional 19% by spending 10 million over the subsequent 3 years, and then our 30% interest is carried to PEA. So yeah, it's a deal that provides Kennerland shareholders with equity in the company with a carried project interest, as well as a royalty that we had created on the project prior to entering into this transaction.
Let's get a little bit more background on this project. Barrick was a partner moving this project forward. They spent right around $5.5 million between 2021 and 2023. Kennerland, your company, has spent a little over $2.7 million. What's all the work that's been done at this asset to generate some of these drill targets?
Yeah, it's got an interesting history. We staked the project, I want to say this is back in 2021 maybe, or 22. Yeah, 2021. And immediately after, Barrick contacted us and was interested in optioning the property. And this was prior to Great Bear being taken out by Kinross there. So they had obviously been eyeing the area as well. It was one of the only kind of large open areas of the belt and of the Confederation Lake assemblage volcanic rocks that was open for staking. So that's what drew us into there, was just the fact that there's a large area of belt open for staking. Historically, it had very little exploration done on it. So those are all first principle kind of criteria for Kennerland when we're looking for new areas to explore. So yeah, we signed the deal with Barrick. They spent 2 years doing geochem surveys. So they did a big regional geochem survey covering the whole property. That was surface sampling, and then they went in to more specific areas with base of till sampling, with a small drill rig. And yeah, the data, it wasn't super obvious where to follow up on in terms of gold. Barrick had also done a huge amount of regional mapping and rock sampling. They did a really incredible job on the property. But sometimes these targets take a little more massaging to really see what's going on. And so Barrick didn't see enough to continue, and so they terminated their option agreement. We got the project back in 2022, and then 2023 we had gone in, did infill till sampling in an area that we had seen some, enough encouragement in the till sampling to say, yeah, there might be something going on here. And it was largely around this lake in the middle of the property called Papaanga. So we went in and we did really high density till sampling from surface. So just conventional, shovel geochem sampling, and then that's when the target really started to resolve, and we realized that there was a big footprint and a lot of anomalous gold all over this one specific area that was a few kilometers by a few kilometers. And on the back of that, then we followed up even further with additional exploration this last summer where we did HMC sampling. So we always go in and try to do, follow up with conventional geochem, just till survey, the fine fraction sampling with heavy mineral concentrate and gold grain counting. So that gives you like an additional data set that could tell you whether or not there's gold in the till. So we completed that work, and then we also did intensive prospecting all over the target area too. So we had a team of geologists out there for about 3 weeks, sampling as much as they could, in terms of finding bedrock. And both of those data sets also were telling us that there is a significant gold system here, and it's got scale. So we had really high gold grain counts, I think up to 900 grains in one sample, mostly pristine, again, a big gold grain till anomaly too, which that's really indicative that there's a gold system when you're actually finding gold grains in the till spread all over the place there. And then the prospecting, that also returned widespread anomalous gold in bedrock. And at that point, you're looking at the system, we've been sampling it, right? Like there is gold mineralization, different styles of mineralization in all sorts of the different lithologies across the area. So we see gold in the intrusions out to the west, and then there's the sediments. Those also contain gold mineralization, the sediments and iron formation, and then in contact with that are the volcanic rocks further to the east, and there was gold mineralization in the volcanics as well. So it looks like quite a robust system. It's not just like a isolated gold occurrence, but a proper gold system. And again, the most fascinating thing I think about this target is that there has been no recorded mineral exploration in this area with regards to any gold potential. There was some focus on these iron formations to the south of the target area in the 50s, and then there's a big iron formation, to the north as well, not within the core target area, but to the north, where there was, I think, drilling on the iron formation in the 70s, but no other recorded prospecting or mapping in the target area, no mineral occurrences either. So it's pretty incredible to go, into an area, a big area, and flush out an actual gold system, even if flushing out mineral gold occurrences, let alone an actual, what we think is a gold system with widespread mineralization. And the geology, the geologic setting, the structural setting, everything looks, it looks really compelling for the target. And I think that's why we had so much interest after we completed our work internally, and that ultimately led to the deal that we announced on Monday.
Now let's talk about this general location, because you have a couple figures in here, figure 1 and figure 2, that outline a number of other projects, some very well-known projects all around the South Uchi Project. I'll post figure 2 just because it shows where that Kinross project, the Great Bear project, is. I think we all remember just how big of a success that project is. And it looks like it's on trend. I don't know if we can say that, but that it looks to me like it's right in line with the South Uchi project. So talk to us about, while there hasn't been much discovery, much exploration on the South Uchi project, all the other assets that are in the area that could be somehow related.
Well, Great Bear was a real genuine discovery as well in the modern sense. They did have the hinge zone. There was some hints of mineralization along the LP, but considering it's right off a highway and even closer to an area that's been heavily explored, I think that discovery is really indicative of the potential of this region and the potential for additional big discoveries. That's the way I always look at it is, has this area seen recent discoveries? If it has, and that maybe there's potential for more of those. Certainly in the area further to the east of Great Bear, where we're exploring, where there's been even less historical exploration, I think there's just even, higher potential for a significant discovery.
So I do need to ask you then, Zach, why not just drill this yourself? The company has money. I've had you on the show a number of times talking about how much money Kennerland does have. I know your model is to find these companies to partner with to use their capital to drill, but why didn't you stick a couple holes in here yourself?
Yeah, it's a valid question. And, I think a lot of people ask that. There's kind of two parts to the answer, though. I think a discovery is never as straightforward as people assume it's going to be. We could go out here, spend 5 million, drill, prove up that there's a mineral system there of even some sort of scale. But if you don't hit right through the critical mass, you could be left having to follow up with an even bigger drill program. And maybe it's not even that second drill program that you hit the core of the ore body. Maybe it takes a third drill program, but maybe by a third drill program, you haven't found it, and maybe that's it. So it's never straightforward, and I don't think it's right to assume that just one drill program is going to be all it takes to prove a discovery somewhere. So you could really end up getting, sucked into it. And of course, if you go out there and you drill some okay mineralization, then maybe it's even harder to bring someone in on an option agreement from there too. The second part is our business model is to generate targets like this multiple times over and over again. And if we're focusing on one specific project, we lose all of that additional kind of optionality on that and that growth in the portfolio. We're really spending our money on these big geochem surveys elsewhere, covering more additional ground. Like this summer, we screened another 400,000 hectares. We're getting data back from that. There's interesting targets starting to develop elsewhere that will be followed up on, and maybe it's those projects that ultimately contain the big prize, right? So we don't want to stop generating additional projects and targets in the portfolio to be tested, because you really can't say which one is going to turn into, an economic discovery, even though a target might look really good. So I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, that's your model, and you've had success with this model too. Look at all the large companies you're already working with. Can we get a little bit more of a background on Auranova Resources, though? This isn't the major that you typically work with, so a little bit more color on Auranova then, please.
Yeah, Auranova, so was really founded by Tom Obradovich. He's got roots going back to Aurelium, Fruta del Norte, and he was the chairman of Dalradian as well. He's had a lot of success in the business, and he was really interested in this project, and he was really serious about it. And I was confident he was able to raise the money to do what we could do, and we ultimately landed on a deal that satisfied everyone. And there's a couple other really notable names in there, as well as including Tim Young and Chris Taylor, obviously from Great Bear, who's very well known. But yeah, it's a new company. Some really great people involved. It'll be a really interesting, path forward here as we collaborate and try to, uncover a new discovery, hopefully.
So that work will really kick off when drill permits are received. Can you give us any insights on when you expect drill permits to come in and where they are in the system?
Yeah, so drill permit applications have been submitted. We're hoping to receive these permits before the end of the year. If that happens, then potentially we could be looking at a drill program in the first quarter next year. All this is contingent on that happening, so we'll just have to see how it all plays out here.
Okay. And the other thing to note, hey, the Kennorland is the operator during this first option period, and we'll get that management fee of 15% of total expenditures. So a little bit more cash coming in to Kennorland as the exploration kicks off. So Zach, thank you very much for this overview of that recent news. Again, Zach Flood, President and CEO of Kennorland Minerals. Click that link in the show notes to visit the Kennorland website, read over the recent news, and send me any questions you have for Zach. Zach, thanks as always for the update.
Thank you, Corey.